Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer deck tech, and today we're going to be talking about Budget Town Ramp, a deck that I'm very excited to talk about today. I've always been a huge fan of budget decks, and this one is probably one of my favorites that I've ever built here on the channel. So as always, at the end of the video, let me know in the comments section below, what do you think about this deck? Is there a specific card that I should have put in this deck that I did not? Or do you have suggestions for upcoming videos? Just let me know in the comments section. So the true inspiration for this deck is the brand new The Wandering Minstrel. This card is just really, really good. I think it's one of the more underrated rares in the entire set. So 2 mana 1/3, lands you control enter untapped, which for those who don't know, all the towns, or I guess not all of them, but all the dual land towns come into play tapped, so at least, you get a little bonus from that. And then at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 5 or more towns, create a 2/2 elemental creature token that's all colors. And then for 3 in WUBRG, other creatures you control get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of towns you control. So we're not so much worried about the activated ability there. We're really just trying to take advantage of the fact that our lands can enter untapped, as well as make some elemental tokens. So what's really, really cool is I love this card, but there's also another card that I've been wanting to share on the channel for quite some time and couldn't really find the right deck for it. And this is the perfect deck to be able to feature this card. So I'm really happy to talk about the Wandering Minstrel and this other card. So let's go and hop into the main deck here. All right, so creatures, we're playing 26. The first 8 are pretty self-explanatory. We're a ramp deck, so we're playing 4 Llanowar Elves and 4 Elvish Mystic. We've got nothing better going on turn 1. If we do have an untapped land, which we're playing a lot of forests in this deck, spoiler alert. So these will come into play untapped quite a bit. We are also playing 4 Wandering Minstrel and 4 Risen Reef. So I've always loved Risen Reef. The card is just so efficient. I'll be honest with you too, when I built this deck, the Wandering Minstrel, the fact that it makes an elemental token, I wasn't even considering. I was just like, wow, these fit really well together. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wait. The token is an elemental, which just made Risen Reef be even better in this deck. What's great too is all of our lands are going to come into play tapped anyway, so it's not going to hurt us when we put extra lands into play with Risen Reef, more specifically the towns. But what else are we playing in this? If we're playing Risen Reef, we want to be playing other elementals that kind of help ramp us, but also can, trigger and make everything easier. Well, guess what? That's why we're playing 4 Fecund Greenshell, 4 Cavalier Thorns, and 2 Ancient Green Warden. So Fecund Greenshell is fantastic. It's basically just another Risen Reef, except it cares about creatures with toughness greater than its power, which all of these creatures are that, which is just awesome. Wandering Minstrel also counts as well with Fecund Greenshell, which is just sweet. And then we're going to put a whole bunch of lands into play, so getting +2/+2 to all of our creatures is not going to be hard. Cavalier Thorns is also awesome. It helps trigger, obviously, the Risen Reef, the Fecund Greenshell, puts lands in our graveyard, and then it puts one into play. And then the die ability is just really good. Ancient Green Warden is also great. Synergizes really well against with Risen Reef and Fecund Greenshell, and it lets us play lands from our graveyard. So if Cavalier Thorns mills them, we can play them from the graveyard. And then if a land entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time, which is just fantastic. So definitely a huge fan of Ancient Green Warden, and honestly this entire elemental suite. It's kind of funny how we have like a little bit of a sub-theme elementals, that kind of thing. But yeah, we got a couple more cards we got to talk about. That is the non-creature spells. It's pretty simple. We're playing 3 Archdruid's Charm, 4 Reach the Horizon, and 2 Travel the Overworld. So Archdruid's Charm, just a great utility card. All the modes are really nice. Archdruid's Charm, if we're missing a specific land, we want to ramp, whatever, we're missing a specific color for the Wandering Minstrel, or whatever the reason being, we can put it into play. The Bite ability is just solid, and exile target artifact or enchantment is very, very relevant in this format. Probably the most relevant it's ever been, just with cards like Quarry Steelcutter, as well as Unholy Annex. Reach of the Horizon is just your stereotypical 4 mana search for 2 lands, put them into play tapped. They do it like every other set. Whenever they make a new basic land type, they always make one that fits that. So Reach the Horizon is fantastic for that. And then Travel the Overworld. Yeah, I guess we could pay like 2 blue to draw 4 cards. Seems pretty good. I mean, why not, right? It's Affinity for Towns, draw 4 cards. Just seems pretty good in general. So let's go and hop into the lands real quick. We're playing 25 lands in this deck because after all, we are a land deck and we want to put a whole bunch of lands into play pretty much every single turn to trigger all of our different spells. So we're playing 4 copies of Balamb Garden Seed Academy, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, I don't play Final Fantasy, and 4 Guado-Salam Farplane Gateway. So our deck is base green after all, but Simic is our next color. So that's why I wanted to play 4 of each of these. The Balamb is also just pretty good if we get to transform it. It turns into a 5/4 flyer vehicle, which is really good. Also has crew 1, so all of our Land Elves and Elvish Mystics can crew this by themselves, which is pretty sweet. It's really just additional value. We want another Simic dual land anyways. Now we're playing a whole bunch of one-of towns just because, we have a bunch of different ways to search them up. And the other big thing too with the Wandering Minstrel is, we're going to put all these lands into play. As long as we have 1 mana of each color, we can activate the Wandering Minstrel to basically just win the game. So we're playing 1 Crossroads Village, 1 Gone Town of Ruin, 1 oh my gosh, I've never pronounced these out loud before now, Gungaga Reactor Town, 1 Windhurst Federation Center, and then we're also playing 1 Adventures Inn and 1 Eden Seat of the Sanctum. So just a whole bunch of one-of lands that just can add some extra utility. What's not to like about them? And then rounding out our lands, we were playing 1 basic island and 10 basic forests. And as our spicy basic lands of the day, I know I featured these ones before. This is really just my favorite basics of Final Fantasy of the set. Really nothing more than that for the most part. It's not my first choice necessarily for basics if I was looking to build a deck, but I know there's a lot of Final Fantasy fans out there looking to build a Final Fantasy themed deck. And you want to know what? This is how you can do it. You can play Wandering Minstrel as well as all these really, really nice islands and forests. Okay, so the next thing we have to talk about here is the sideboard, which is relatively straightforward, but I also like to give the disclaimer, my sideboard might look different than yours. Feel free to go ahead and change up the sideboard based on what you're running into on Magic Arena, as well as, like your local game store. This is just personally what I run into and what I would recommend playing. So, we are playing 2 Grafdigger's Cage and 2 Damping Spheres as our main artifact hate. Or not artifact hate, but artifact cards that hate on specific things. Grafdigger's Cage most notably hating on Izzet Phoenix, as well as Selesnya Company. Damping Sphere is great against Lotus Field, obviously, Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, and other Spell Slinger, Spell Slinger deck matters. We're also playing 3 Courser of Kruphix. We're putting a ton of lands into play, and we're going to get a ton of life. That's really why we're playing Courser of Kruphix, nothing more than that. It's great against all the different aggro decks because it's also a 2/4, which also triggers Fecunda Greenshell, so it'll kind of make sense. We are also playing 4 Pick Your Poison. It's good against so many different decks in the metagame. I just wanted to play 4 copies of it, sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or a creature with flying. It's fantastic. And then Monstrous Emergence, I think is the most, safe, I guess, or consistent, removal spell that you could play, just because, we don't even have to have a creature in play to be able to bite it or whatever. It's just we can reveal it from our hand, so like our Fecund Greenshell, our Cavalier Thorns, we can deal some early damage if we need to against a lot of those quick aggro decks. Okay, so the next thing we have to go over is the tips and strategy section. This is really just things that I love to share with you. So if you're looking to build one of the decks that I feature here on the channel, you kind of have an idea of either realizing a card did something that you didn't know before, or just a general tip if you're looking to play this deck. So the first thing I have to go over is Risen Reef is the MVP. Like I talked about earlier, it's the best card in the deck, hands down. If you can get this down turn 2, fantastic. Get it down turn 3 as well. It's really, really good. I'm telling you, it's going to set up all of your future turns. You're going to love playing Risen Reef. The other thing I have to go over is set up Minstrel, the Wandering Minstrel. When we're ramping, reach the horizon, obviously, if you want to have a Simic land at play, ideally 2 blue sorcerers, so that way we can play the Affinity for Towns, draw 4 cards card. But once we get that double blue, start grabbing some of those one-of towns, so that way we could possibly start activating the Wandering Minstrel and things like that. It's also 5 or more towns, so don't just grab a whole bunch of basic forests. Make sure we're grabbing the towns. After all, that's why we're playing all these different town cards, is to put them into play. So do keep that in mind if you're, trying to set up, just ramping. Be smart about your ramp. Don't just be grabbing random towns and throwing them into play. Just be careful with that. The other thing I have to mention, and I always... when I play decks that have a lot of specific triggers, I always love to mention this. It really only applies to you if you're looking to play in paper, but that is, remember your triggers. I can't tell you how many times I've let people like borrow my decks and stuff like that, and you know, we have all these sweet enter the battlefield triggers or attack triggers, and they forget to do them. Like, after all, that's why we're playing it. We're playing Fecund Greenshell, Cavalier of Thorns, and Ancient Green Warden for like all of its sweet triggers, or in this case, Ancient Green Warden, its ability to play lands from the graveyard and make additional triggers. So just make sure, if you're playing this deck, remember why we're playing them. Because obviously, Fecund Greenshell and Cavalier is when they enter, and in case for Fecund Greenshell's case, you know, it's enters or another creature enters with toughness greater than its power. Just remember your trigger. Same with Risen Reef. I mean, you could really include a lot of different cards on here, but just remember your triggers. And the last thing we have to go over is the upgrade options for this deck, which I'll be honest with you, it's really simple. Dual and utility lands. So obviously we're playing the 10 basic forests. Obviously, you know, get some breeding pools or even some Yavimaya coasts, or, you know, like in the utility lands case, you could obviously play like Otawara or, you know, a Boseiju, a starting town. You could swap out that one where enters tap and you choose a color. Swap that out for starting town. That just kind of seems like an easy swap. But really, that's about it. I mean, the creatures are the exact same. We would not change them if we were playing a non-budget list. So you don't even have to worry about that. The current list as it's constructed right now is only $66 US, most of the cost being an Archdruid's Charm, as well as I'm forgetting, Ancient Green Warden. That's most of the cost right there, as well as a few random cards. You know, a lot of 50-cent cards are going to add up in a 75 card deck, but the non-budget list is $306, which I'll be honest with you, it was all in the lands. I included like the starting town, the 4 breeding pools, the Cavernous Souls, the Boseiju, the Otawara. Those lands do add up, but if you're looking to just play this deck, you can play the budget version and it'll still pretty much perform the exact same. It's really just with your utility lands, you get a little bit extra reach sometimes, which they do matter. I'm not going to pretend that they don't, but if you're just wanting to play a bunch of towns or ramp into some really sweet elementals, this is definitely the deck for you. And let me know in the comment section below if you have a town deck yourself, or if you do end up building this deck and just want to let me know how it goes. That would be awesome. Just let me know in the comment section. And that takes us to the end of the video here. Thanks so much for watching. The deck lists are in the description below if you'd like to check them out for yourself. Huge shout out to our channel members, Ralph, Matt, Arcadius, Ray, Gary, Cyril Loki, Michael D, our premium channel member, The Common Cold, Jeremy P, and BG Stilts. If you're interested in being a channel member, it starts at $1 US a month, and you gain access to the exclusive Commander Crane Discord, as well as other features here on the channel. So, I'm Commander Crane, thanks for watching this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.